and get your hair cut way up high. Get yourself a lawyer, son. You're gonna need a real good one.
Our lawyer is in the building, David Whiting, Melbourne solicitor, answering your calls and helping you out with some legal advice. David, good morning.
Good morning, Virginia.
I do remember we had some homework.
We did. Hank from Castlemaine. Hank was a member of a not-for-profit organisation who was, he said, refusing to hold annual general meetings, refusing to provide access to records of members. And I told him that he had the ability to call a general meeting, but that depended on knowing how many members there were. So there's two places he can look. If he has the model rules, then the model rules of the organisation, which is what the government starts you with, you can make changes. That is, a member can call the petition of 10% of the membership compels the organisation to call a general meeting.
Okay.
And his question was, well, how do I find out how many members there so I know how many I need to get? Sections 57 to 59, capital B, of the Associations and Corporation Reform Act start from the proposition that every member is entitled to search the records to get the details of members. But there's a provision in section 58 that says that a person can make an application to the register. The association can come along and say, we want to be able to keep our membership secret for these reasons. And that's an appealable and a reviewable decision. You can go to the registrar and get that overturned, and you can also go to VCAT. So Hank has a number of options open to him, and I would probably be, and failure to make the records available constitutes an offence. Five penalty units, about $800. But presumably, if you asked every week, it'd be $800 every week.
Is it as complex as it sounds, or as time-consuming as it sounds?
You just roll on. Step one is you ask. Step two is if they haven't got an exemption, you go to VCAT for an order compelling them to give you access.
Okay. Anything else we had to follow?
No, that was it.
Got any news for me?
No. I'm looking at everything that's going. I'm looking. Well, no, it's not slow. It's slow from the legal point of view. Yeah. It's just you look at everything that's happened in Canberra and say, gee, I'm glad I live in Melbourne.
Well, let me ask you a legal question about that, because it's a point that's been raised before, but a caller called in at the top of the program to say there's such a thing as a Workplace Health and Safety Act, which of course must be adhered to by all workplaces. A great deal of this behaviour, let's put in one very particular basket a rape allegation, which goes way beyond and is a criminal allegation there. How would it apply in this instance? And someone working at that building who might feel the same way as you, David, how might they make those laws work for them in cleaning up that cesspit?
Well, I think what people are looking for, so most employers look at it from the point of view is, do I have
legal exposure?
Legal exposure, but do I have premises that are physically safe?
That's right.
And if you look at the number of rules around that, I mean, you're supposed to go and get all of your leads checked with a frequency, and it just so that's what most people look at and tend not, from a workplace point of view, worry too much about personal relationships between staff members, although lots of American organisations...
Psychologically safe is important.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the problem. Our number is 1300 222 774 if you'd like to get some legal advice, and we've got a full board of calls for you already. Okay, let's start with John in Northcote. Good morning.
Good morning, Virginia. Good morning, David.
Good morning.
I have an apartment that is in close proximity to the entry of the Metro Tunnel Eastern Portal Works in South Yarra.
Yes.
Yes.
And I've got two tenants now that have vacated the property in 2 years, and they've both cited the noise that's generated by the works as the reason. In particular, one cited the machine that's running up and down the street every half an hour. Very ineffective, loud machine that just basically ticks the OH&S tick box, Problem is that it's my business that's suffering, not theirs. And I was just wondering if there was any legal avenue that I could have for compensation for loss of rental income and the cost of.
John, I'm going to take that one on notice. That to me there are two issues. One is the noise concerns of your tenant, and the second one is your loss of income, and whether or not there were any provisions put in place for compensation while the works were being undertaken. So I will respond on both next week.
Okay.
Okay.
Can you
I
tune
will
in?
say, that they are providing the tenants with the option to move out when they're doing 24/7 construction work, so just during certain stages.
So when the tenants can move out, where do the tenants go when they move out?
They go into serviced apartments.
Yes, but it's, I had a friend who had lived in an aged care facility a retirement village where there was a fire and, 60 or 70 units all vacated to serviced apartments. You can't take everything with you.
No.
It's like going away for the weekend.
And it's not your home.
No.
That's right.
Yep.
So tune in next week, John, and hopefully we'll have an answer for you. We're staying with noise with Fiona, who's calling in from Abbotsford. Hi, Fiona.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm ringing about a neighbour of ours. She owns an apartment within our block. She's owned it for several years and she's leased it out by the bed to backpackers in the past.
Yes.
And there's been just an endless...
Backpackers like parties, Fiona. They're all,
That's
it's a mixture
right.
of work and holiday.
And they're all doing jobs. They're pretty broke, so they have everybody back to their place. They don't go out to have a party. And
Doesn't sound COVID safe either, but go on.
and we've taken her to mediation. She just lies. She's got several properties like this throughout Melbourne. And we've just had 2 more parties in the last 2 weekends. We've changed our rules. She skates her way through.
So
you're
what's
bringing
your
a
question?
claim as a neighbour, Fiona, or on behalf of the Owners Corporation?
Both. So we were told by the body corporate management company that it would probably be best if individual owners took her to VCAT.
Yes.
And I'm just wondering if that's your view or if there's anything else that you think that we can do, because one of the other owners has tenants in the apartment below. The last one's left because of all of the noise. The current one's
Fiona,
considering leaving.
my difficulty is what the responsibilities are for the owner of a unit for the noise being made by a tenant. They're backpackers, though. There'll be a revolving group of people there. So the people who are in the residence at the time you lodge your application will probably have changed as to 50% by the time you get to VCAT, maybe more.
Correct.
And I'm trying to work out what responsibility. I mean, yes, you can come along and say to the owner of the unit, you should find a tenant who behaves appropriately in all the circumstances, but whether or not, how do you vet that? How do you control that? So I'm actually, my issue would be, yes, you've got a claim against the tenant, but then they're broke. They'll have little or no money. You might get an order for the payment of costs or the payment of compensation, but you're never going to get paid.
Fiona, there's no joy with the owner?
Absolutely not. She just lies.
She just wants the rent.
So what's the best action here, David?
The only action that Fiona's got is the one she's taking, which is we'll go to VCAT and we'll argue about the noise. What I would be trying to do, Fiona, is get some kind of measuring device so you can actually measure the noise.
Yeah.
It may also be what the Owners Corporation ought to do is think about whether it's possible to get an order against almost like an order against whoever the occupant is as to noise. So have a look at the Environment Protection Act and see if you can get an order against persons unknown.
Okay, good luck with that. Chris in Heidelberg, good morning.
Good morning.
Hi.
We've been classed as something
Chris,
unique
can I get you to pick up
area.
Chris, can I get you to pick up the phone, please?
I am.
You are? Oh, you're very quiet. Okay, go ahead.
We've been classed as unique in our land area. We don't have a stormwater collection point for our individual stormwater systems. One of the house owners wants to pull down the house and build a new one. Plans are all made and they fit all the council designs, but the council won't approve the design unless they pay for the system to run about 150 metres down the right of way.
Yes.
And include 2 ditches. and it all be done by the council's, to the council's requirements.
Someone's made an application for a planning permit for a construction, and one of the requirements from the council is we need to be satisfied that there's adequate disposal of stormwater.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. Well, that's a decision. And I think that's what one would normally expect anyway. What I would be trying to do is work out how much worse the stormwater's going to be. So, what's the footprint of the house compared to that's proposed as opposed to the footprint of the house that's going to be pulled down? So, if you were going to VCAT, you might come along and say, well, there's absolutely going to be no change to the stormwater issue that is there. And if council wants to solve the stormwater issue, then what it ought to do is make everybody in the development contribute.
It's not a development. These are individual houses.
No, I understand that. Is this one of the Walter Burley Griffith type parks in Heidelberg?
No.
No. Okay. Well, so what will happen will be if I was acting for the person who wants the building work done, that's a reasonable requirement as to the disposal of stormwater. But my argument would be, you can't charge me for that because the works I'm doing aren't making it worse. Right? Now, council has the ability to charge what's called a separate rate, so they can rate a small area of land and come along and say, we think this area needs appropriate stormwater drainage, and the way we do it is we're going to charge 30 or 40 or 20 houses, all of whom will benefit from the improved stormwater. Mind you, it's a particularly unsatisfactory political response because you've then got the number of house owners who don't like paying any more rates.
So how are you going to proceed?
I think the appropriate answer, Chris, is you go to VCAT. You take the matter to VCAT and you say, I object to that particular condition because I'm not making it any worse than it currently is.
All right, well, let's see if you can stand that up at VCAT. Lynn in Camberwell, good morning. What's happening there?
Oh, good morning. My problem is that I have a large gum tree on the nature strip outside my house, and 3 of its branches encroach right over inside our backyard, which leaves a whole lot of debris. And, I'm just wondering what we can do about it.
Beg is the answer.
Oh, they're pretty big.
No, beg.
No. He said beg.
There is a...
you don't want to have to beg, do
no,
you?
Beg.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I think I am begging at the moment anyway.
It's a council tree.
Yeah.
It's council's responsibility, but the effect of a piece of legislation called the Road Management Act means that they will probably have no responsibility to you.
Right.
All right?
Yep.
That compels them to do anything. What from time to time, it may be that the SES is prepared to do an exercise that involves them doing some tree lopping, but that's not their job. So it may well be it would be better for you to ask council if you can lop the branches.
Right. Yeah, they're too high for us to do.
I'm not expecting you to get the...
No, but then to pay for it either would be too expensive for them to do.
Then it's really how can I put pressure on council to achieve the outcome? Talk to your local councillor, Lynn.
Okay.
And maybe get some neighbours involved as well.
Okay.
All right.
That's
good luck.
Wonderful. Thank you
worries.
very much.
Good to hear from you.
Yeah. Bye.
1300 222 774 is our number if you'd like some legal advice. Lyndon has called in from Healesville. Good morning.
Yes, good morning. I've got a problem with my Mazda.
We won't use brand names this morning, but that's all right. With your car, go ahead.
Sorry, apologies. With my car and the company I purchased it from, it was a diesel six-speed manual wagon. It had initial problems with the diesel particle filter, which when they did the recall, I think it was the ACCC organised the recall with this company. This one wasn't included, but I did take it to my local dealer and have a talk to him. Now, I was told at the time that they thought the train...
What's
timing...
What's the issue, Lyndon?
It looks like now that the timing change is gone.
And what do you want to happen?
Well, it was actually a recognised fault. It's been a recognised fault
But
in
what
this
do you
car.
want your money back or a new car? What are you
Well, I
after?
would like my car fixed, and they're going incredibly slowly about it and won't give me a replacement
Lyndon, how old is the car?
8 years old.
And what kilometres have you got on it?
200,000. I know there's a lot of kilometres on it. It's all
No,
country
that's
driving.
okay. But how often? My recollection is that timing chains need to get replaced on a regular basis.
Well, this company installed them on the idea that they would never need replacing.
Oh no, we all hope that.
No.
but
It
cars that
actually
I've
says
had-
on one of their things that the idea of replacing a belt with a chain was that it would never need replacing. And because of the diesel car, of course, it's very expensive to replace. And when I took it to the company, they looked it over and said it was a problem. It wasn't at that time. And I asked them how you would slip a timing chain. And the words which I wrote down at the time, it was stretched because I had been over-revving the engine. Now, I may be female and I may be older.
Lyndon, my difficulty is trying to work out what's appropriate compensation in circumstances where you've had 8 years and 200,000 kilometres, and so you're way outside any warranty period at the time
Certainly.
you purchased the car. I don't know that you've really got anywhere that you can go. I would be incredibly grateful that you had if I had a timing chain, one that lasted 8 years.
Well, for that sort of money, it was top of the range. You'd want to, wouldn't it?
Oh,
I suppose so.
I've bought more expensive cars than the brand you mentioned before, and they need time changes.
Yeah, I think it's probably the end of that one. But thanks for calling in. Steve in Footscray, good morning.
Morning, Virginia. Good morning, David.
Hi.
Look, I'm just ringing up. We're building a holiday house along the Great Ocean Road, and we're having issues. It's very similar to a previous caller with the legal point of discharge. Now, when we initially put in the planning permits, the legal point of discharge, they said there was a pit or some sort of stormwater pit at the bottom of our property, which then discharged to the point which the council are nominated.
Yes.
We've been told that that's not there. So the council come back to say now that the legal point of discharge is on the Great Ocean Road.
Yes.
So they've changed the drawings and they're saying that we're responsible now for doing that infrastructure to move the stormwater from the point where they said our existing point was to their point. And
Yes.
it's across a council easement.
Yep.
Is that correct? Do we have to pay for that? Or if not, or what body do I go to complain about that? And if it is it the responsibility of my constructor to pay for that, or was it something that
Steve,
I have to
I
incur?
live in the inner city. I
Yep.
have a bluestone lane at the back of my property.
Yep.
I have an extension at the back which built long before I moved in, where the downpipe just simply went to
Yep.
the lane, right?
Yep.
And it had gone to the lane for 60 or 70 years. I wanted to do some work on my property, and the council told me I needed a lawful point of discharge. And the one that had been used by my predecessors for many
unlawful,
years
yeah.
was now not an acceptable discharge. You're in the same kind of boat, Steve. You want to do some work which affects stormwater, therefore they need you to provide adequately for the disposal of stormwater, and simply letting it run onto the ground isn't it. I would be asking them what made them think there was the other pit there, and why didn't they enforce the
Well-
obligations on the previous developer to put the pit in?
Well, they were developing. This is in a fire-affected region.
Yes.
They said that they were putting the pits in. They ran out of money. So they didn't avoid their responsibility. Their excuse to us is that they ran out of money. It was from a bushfire funding, so I'll leave the area up to yourselves.
Yep. Well, the Great Ocean
and they
Road was
said-
a good hint, wasn't it, Steve?
So what can Steve do?
Well, I would be, you might look at it from the back end. You might say, well, you didn't spend the money appropriately that you got from bushfire funding. You made a commitment that you would do certain work. Go off and do the certain work so I can tap
said
into
that.
it. Yep.
I've said that to them, and
Yes.
they've said no. It's our
Steve,
responsibility.
you need to see whether there is an obligation on them to do it. So make the complaint to the Ombudsman.
Ombudsman. Okay, then.
Okay?
All right. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thanks to all of our callers. Sorry we couldn't get to all of them this week. We've got one bit of homework, so David, we'll see you next Tuesday.
Look forward to it.
David Whiting there, helping you out with legal calls.